Welcome back, everybody, to another review. Today we're going to be talking about the latest movie in the Conjuring universe and the end of Phase 1 in the Conjuring universe, and that is the newest Conjuring movie, Last Rites. So this movie, we're back with the Warrens in their final chapter of this saga, which I didn't even find out until a couple days ago that apparently this is going to lead to I knew they were going to do something with a TV show based on the Warrens, where I think it's going to go through some of their cases when they were younger or first starting out or something like that. I don't know all the details. I'm not 100% sure if that's still happening. I haven't heard any updates about that in a while. But I did just hear the other day where this is going to be like the end of Phase 1 for the Conjuring universe or something like that, which I was kind of like, okay, so I don't know if this is taking a Marvel route and doing stuff in phases. I don't know what the plan is from here on out. I don't know if it's going to be a bunch of spin-off movies of demons or ghosts or anything, these apparitions that we've seen in previous movies, like the Crooked Man or the what was the ghost in Annabelle Comes Home, the one that's got like the coins over the eyes and all that stuff. The Fairy Man or something like that was the name, and all these other random creatures and stuff that has been introduced into this world. I don't know if that's going to be the case. I really don't know what they're going to do with that. I'm curious about it, but at the same time, I'm also at the point where I'm like, okay, outside of the Conjuring franchise, the movies are very hit or miss. Like I thought that the second and third Annabelle I really enjoyed a lot. The first two Conjurings I enjoy so much. They're probably my two of my favorites out of this thing. And the Nun movies, they're after going back and rewatching, they're really not that great. And the first Annabelle is okay. It's not as bad as people made it out to be, but it's just okay. And this movie is directed by Michael Chavez, the guy who did, I hope I said his name right, the guy who did The Conjuring 3, as well as The Nun 2 and The Curse of La Llorona. And I don't know, it's just, to me, there's something missing about James Wan not doing these movies. I don't know why, but it's like he brought something with his style to the first two that really catapulted this thing off that, nothing has really kind of lived up to that, at least in my opinion. So let's talk about this one and see if this is a nice send-off for the Warrens. So in this movie, we follow Ed and Lorraine Warren as they take on their last and final case, or in this case, it's supposed to be their case that was so bad and they've never faced any kind of evil like this before that this is what made them retire. This is really what made them quit. I mean, granted, they had other stuff that was going on in their life that you see in the movie that contributed to them wanting to quit. I don't know much about this case outside of the movie because I like to, same with anything, it's the same with paranormal and anything true crime-wise. I like to watch the show or watch the movie and do that first so I don't have anything spoiled for me, and then I like to go back and read about the case and see how much of it is true and how much of it is not and stuff like that. With this case, I haven't been able to dive into anything yet, so I don't know much about the case per se, but I would like to know more because, as I'll get into in this review, you don't really learn a lot about the family in this one. So it's a case that sounds very interesting. I'd like to know what all actually happened to this family. So I guess I'll start off with the positives of this movie, and that is Patrick Wilson and Vera Farmiga. Like they are just great as these characters. They've been great since the beginning. I think the two of them have fantastic chemistry together. You can totally buy in that they're a married couple and that they love each other and they have all this just years of love for each other. And I think that's something that's really great because it brings a lot of levity and a lot of heart to this movie, not only this movie, but to the franchise overall, and it's always good to see them. I think the actress who played their daughter, Mia Tomlinson, I think's how you say her name, was very good. She was very good in all the scenes she had to play. She was kind of had to do this really like thing that was about her that was kind of this tormented soul throughout the movie because she was seeing things and dealing with things of her own, and she did a very good job of portraying that. I'm trying to tiptoe around everything without giving stuff away, but she did really good. All the actors who were portrayed as the family that was really going through all this, the stuff that you did see about them and the torment and with all the hauntings and whatnot, they really did a very good job of portraying that and felt very scared and like they were just they were just defeated. They did a very good job of just portraying that, and like there's some scenes where it just pans to some of the kids, and they don't even have to say anything. You can just see the defeat in their face and their eyes, and I think they all did a very good job of pulling that off. And I actually bought into their chemistry as a family near the beginning of the movie when stuff is normal and whatnot. Like they're bickering like siblings. It's a big family. It's like 8 people living in this house in Pennsylvania, and they do a really good job at just portraying a lovable family that really really love each other, and just the way a family would work. So they pulled that off really well. So I really thought all the cast who was a part of the family did a really good job. There are certain shots that are in this movie that are done with the camera that I thought were really cool. They did some of it in the last Conjuring movie, and they did some of it in The Nun 2. I haven't seen The Nun 2 since the theaters, so I don't remember a lot about it, but I do remember some way that they did certain shots that were really cool. And I have not seen The Curse of La Llorona in probably since it came out either, so I know with that being the same director, I don't know if he used some of those signature shots that he has in this movie in The Nun like he did in La Llorona, but there were some ways that the camera was moved around, and the way that certain things were shot, and how they did these certain shots, especially some overhead shots, and how they kind of rolled things around to go into another scene or to take you into another part of a house, or that you just followed characters throughout the house. As I said in my intro, I do like the amount of levity and heart that is brought to this movie. There are certain shots throughout the Conjuring franchise that are there for specific reasons, and just to bring that levity and heart to the movie. And I always think of the second one, where the case where they're in London, where they're really going through it, and Patrick Wilson just takes out his guitar and starts singing Elvis, and that scene alone kind of brings the family together, and just shows the love for his wife and stuff like that. And I love those moments in these movies, because some of these movies, with the stuff that they're fighting and the stuff that the family and them are going through personally, it is nice to have that little bit of heart to the movie, because these two characters and the way that they are portrayed in these movies, they are by far the entire heart of this franchise. So in this movie, they do have a lot of that heart with the movie, but the thing that I do like about this is that they did bring that. I don't feel like we had that much in The Conjuring 3. I felt like that was kind of missing from The Conjuring 3. But in this one, there is a lot of scenes that do carry that. There's one in particular where Ed has a birthday party, and it's just this nice little scene of levity that brings some heartwarming stuff to the table, and brings this some comedic stuff to the movie, which is nice, between Ed and his meeting his daughter's boyfriend. Not meeting, but seeing him again for I don't know how long it's been, but seeing him again. That brought this nice sense of comedy to it as well. And that little bit of that is kind of sprinkled throughout the movie with him and Ed, and that's always pretty good. And I liked how they did that, and I liked how they kind of wrapped the story around that. There's quite a few moments like that in this movie where, they kind of pause to have a moment of something with their family, or a comedic moment and stuff like that. And I'll get into that in my mixed part of the review, but I do like how they were able to pull that off so many times in a movie that is supposed to be so dark and depressing with the subject matter that it's going through. So one of the other things I do really like, and I'm sure obviously this is, it's based on a true story, or it's based somewhat on a true story. Sometimes with true story stuff, you never know how much of it is actually true. That's why it's good to kind of deep dive and do some stuff of your own. But the actor that plays Judy's boyfriend in this movie, his name is Ben Hardy. I like the fact that they made him a good character. Like, he wasn't the typical either asshole boyfriend, or he wasn't the non-believer boyfriend. He was there mainly because he loved Judy, and he wanted her parents' blessing for stuff, and I like that, and the fact that he was just there to support Judy. Judy's kind of going through something in this movie of her own that kind of leads back in and connects to the actual family and stuff later on. Again, not giving anything away, but he's just this very supportive boyfriend, and he's a very likable character. You really like him, and you You're rooting for him. I'm glad that he was likable from the get go, and he had no like bad intentions near the end of it or anything. He was just there because he fully supported Judy and he loved her. And obviously, like I said, it's based on a true character, and I think that's the actual guy that she ended up with in real life. So obviously, that's probably how he is in real life. But still, I'm glad they didn't change that or move that around for the movie's sake or to fit it in their story in some way that they wanted to. So I'm glad and happy about that. One other thing that I do really like in this movie is the sense of dread throughout. They were able to capture something in this movie, at least for me, that even in the moments that are supposed to be the lighthearted moments, they were able to capture something to where I still felt that dread. Like even though a family was happy or the Warrens were happy or they're at the birthday party, there was a part of me that was still like, something bad is gonna happen here. Like I don't feel safe, and something's off. And I'm glad that they were able to establish that, at least for the most part of the movie. Like all the stuff near the beginning where it had those moments, I still felt that level of dread. So I was glad that they were able to pull that off. Now, moving on to my mixed aspects of this movie. If if I bounce back and forth, I apologize because I might think of other stuff that I remembered that I liked throughout the movie while trying to think about everything. But going through the mixed stuff about this movie is, I don't. This movie felt very underwhelming. At least to me, this was supposed to be the final case and the most brutal case of the Warrens, the case that made them quit. And I don't know, it just left me not fully satisfied. I was kind of like, okay, but there's a lot of stuff that happens in between as well that kind of made me scratch my head and question certain things. And I felt like a lot of the paranormal stuff was kind of set in the back. It was almost like put on the back burner, and it was kind of the background of the movie, because the first hour of this movie is a lot of cutting back and forth between the family and the Warrens. The family and the Warrens. It just goes back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And then it has something that has to do with their daughter, and so you have different plot lines going on throughout the movie, and it's trying to juggle all that while inserting these moments of scares and this torment that this family is supposedly going through. And honestly, this movie, you don't know a lot about the family. I feel like the other Conjuring movies, you spent a lot of time with the families, and even when the Warrens weren't there, you picked up on a little bit of who they were and who they are. And it's like with this movie, you don't learn anything about this family. They're just kind of there, and you see some of the haunting or the stuff with the ghosts or whatever you want to call it throughout this movie, and but you don't really know a lot about the family, so therefore you don't really care about the family. I mean, obviously, you feel bad because they're having to go through this stuff, and from what I understand about hearing about the real case is that they lived with this stuff for a very long time, and some of the stuff that they went through in this movie seems pretty brutal. And like I said, I need to look more into the case, but there's a part of me that was like, well, I want to know more about the family. I want to know, and it's like you don't really get to know them at all, so you're kind of just like, okay, I'm just thrown in with this random family. And the Warrens do not come to their house until probably about an hour into the movie, if that. It might be a little bit later. And because of that, you don't, even when they show up, you still don't learn a lot about the family. It's like once the Warrens show up, it's mainly focused on her daughter, or the Warrens' daughter. And it's just almost, yeah, it's so weird. It's like there's certain parts in the movie where it's like, the first hour of the movie when it's going back and forth between the two families, between the Warrens and the Smurls, it's like the haunted stuff is put on the back burner, and you get a little bit of that sprinkled in throughout here, and then once the Warrens finally come to the house, it's almost like the Smurl family's put on the background, and it's all about their daughter Judy. So I don't know, it's very odd how it was paced in certain areas, and plus it's like once they show up to the house, it's like I said, it's stuff with their daughter, but then it's just like real quick and then it's over. And I'm like, you didn't, it's like they barely spent. Now it could be the case in real life, they might have not spent hardly any time with the family, so that might be why you know they that they portrayed it like that in the movie. But there's still a part of me that wished that they would still, had a little bit more backstory about the family, that we got to sit down and know the family just a little bit more. And sadly, that's not the case in this movie. One of the other things I felt about leaving this movie as well is that I felt like there were certain chunks of this movie that was missing. Like, I don't know if it's something that they shot or something that they didn't shoot, but there's scenes with the family, for example, that when you first meet the family, everything's happy-go-lucky, and then there's the next time you see them, there's just a little bit of stuff that happens, and then the third time you see them, by the third or fourth time you cut back to them, it's like they're this completely destroyed family that's just been through so much shit, and you're like, wait a minute, wait a minute, wait a minute. You're like, what happened? You're like, I feel like you started out so small, and granted, there is something pretty massive that happens at one of the points when you see the family, but it's like, I feel like you missed all of the stuff in between about like what made them get to this point. Like, it was just gone. Like, I don't know, it's just so weird. Like, it just feels like this huge chunk is missing. Like I said, it's just happy, a little bit of stuff, happy, a little bit of stuff. Then something does happen, something pretty big does happen, but by the time you cut back to the family, it's like they're at this dinner table having, dinner and whatnot, and they're just miserable, and they're arguing with each other, and they're like talking about how they can't live like this, and they've experienced all this stuff, and then you're like, but what happened? You're like, what was the other stuff that happened? You're like, some of the littler stuff, it didn't seem like it was enough for them to get to that point. I mean, granted, the one big thing that happened before that, yes, I can understand that. But they could have easily chalked that up to something else. It could have been an accident, something like that. But it's just, I don't know. There's like a huge chunk that I feel is missing out of that I feel that's another thing where I was talking about, that I feel like we don't get to know the family at all, because we don't get to see them going through half of the stuff that they went through. And I'm not sure what all they've went through, because like I said, I haven't dug, fully into this case yet, but it's one of those things where I just thought was really odd. And there's another thing that two of the family members disappear like halfway through this movie, and you don't hear anything about them anymore. They're just never seen or never talked about again. Unless I missed it in passing, somebody might have said something about where they're at or where they went, but as far as I know, they are never mentioned again, and you're just like, what happened to them? So it's just one of those weird things I don't understand. I don't know if, like, the scenes like I was talking about with, I felt stuff was missing. I don't know if any of that was shot, or if that's just how it was written, or if they just didn't shoot any of that. So I don't know. It's very odd how because it almost feels like you're in this like whiplash type stage. You're like, well, I want to know what happened to them to get them to that stage, and sadly, you never see that. That could be a big part of it why I feel so underwhelmed with the movie as a whole, because this felt more like a family drama with like paranormal stuff thrown into it at times. And you can do that very effectively in certain ways, but I feel like the pacing in this movie was so off for certain things that I don't know. I mean, I did enjoy some of the scares that we do get. Some of the scares we do get is very good and very creepy, which I was a little worried, because I'll be honest, I saw the first teaser trailer for this movie. That's all I watched. I didn't watch any more marketing for it. And if you've seen the trailer, or that trailer in particular, you know the scene uh, with the baby doll toy, where it seems to like start floating in midair, and then all of a sudden it comes down and it reveals like this creature, demon, whatever you want to call it. And for me, in the trailer, that was horrendous, because the CGI looked awful. And I can say in the movie, it does look a little bit, that scene, the demon creature, whatever you want to call it, does look a little bit different. It does look a little bit more, how do you want to put it, shaped up, I guess you could say, or a little bit better rendered, or they changed certain things about it. So it does look creepier in the actual movie. But then there's a scene later on that shows it again, and it kind of looks like it did in the trailer, and I was kind of like, okay. I just wish movies like this wouldn't rely on CGI so much. It's like, when they did the Conjuring 2 with the Crooked Man, that was actually a guy that James Wan knew that was in a suit, and it was half live action and half what do you call that animation? It's like the can't remember the full what that certain animation is called, but it's a certain kind of animation that was used with the actor that made it. I mean, obviously the face was CGI'd, but they used a certain type of animation with the actor that gave it that jerky type motion that they were able to pull off with the Crooked Man in the movie, and I just thought it was so well done. And if they did more stuff like that, I wish I think the stuff would look scarier. Now, the one thing you do see in the trailer with the long haired demon or whatever you want to call it, it's got the axe throughout. It's walking throughout the house. He looks very creepy throughout the movie. The times that you do see him, the way they utilize him, they keep him in these darker settings, so he does look very creepy. It's so hard to try to figure out how to say this without spoiling anything. So bear with me. I'm trying to figure it out. You find out very briefly near the end of the movie. You find out that there are a certain ghost or ghosts in the that's in this house, and there is something supposedly that is keeping them there as well. But it doesn't really go into detail about a lot of detail, at least why who the ghosts, who like what the ghosts are, who they are. It's very very brief, and it's like literally if you got up to use the bathroom, you'd miss the whole thing, or. And then come later on, the thing that's supposedly keeping them there, it's never really talked about again. You're kind of just like, well, was I kind of figured it out, or I think I've kind of figured it out after I sat on it for a while. But I'm still not 100% sure if that's what it actually was, because I was like, is that supposed to be that? And it's never really talked about. It's just kind of like, okay. And I understand that's supposed to be something that's connected to other movies with their daughter. Like I said, it's their daughter that is like in that is like somehow connected to this family, and something in the family like drew things to get them there and all that stuff like that. That's all I'm gonna say. But yeah, I don't know. There's not really touched on or mentioned much anymore after that. So I'm kind of like, okay, so I guess you're just kind of supposed to put two and two together. Which, like I said, if you sit on it and think about it, you can put it together pretty easily. But I'm still not 100% sure if that's what the actual thing was. I'm kind of like, okay, I said, I guess I'll just, maybe if I watched it again, maybe it would be, maybe there's a detail in there that I missed, or maybe I would catch on to it differently. I don't know, but that's just me. The other thing I feel kind of mixed on in this movie is there's certain stuff near the end of it that the stuff that's going on, it is so dark you can't really make out what's going on. Like there's certain things that's happening where I'm kind of like, what the hell is going on? I'm like, who are they fighting? Which character is that? And I'm like, what's supposed to be happening to that character? And yeah, it kind of does that a few times throughout the movie where I'm like, I don't know what the hell's going on, because I cannot see what character is what, or what is doing what to what character. It kind of takes you out of it a little bit, because you're like, well, damn, I'd like to know what's going on. Or I'd like to see what's happening to this person. And sadly, that's you can't. A lot of you can't make it out. Maybe it could have been my theater. It could have been, I saw this in the Dolby, so obviously the darks are very dark, all that stuff like that. But I don't know. It's just like like I said, it could have been a me thing. Everybody else could have a different experience based on what theater you see it in. But it was almost like, watching one of the Alien versus Predator movies where it was so dark. It's almost like they had one light on set, and they're just like, okay, here, go have at it. And you could not make out what was going on at all. I don't know. It's just a lot of mixed things for me. Maybe if I saw it again, maybe it would change how I felt about it. But as for now, I don't know. I feel very mixed on it. I don't know where they're gonna go. Like, I don't know where they're gonna take this whole new phase of the Conjuring universe, or whatever they're gonna do with that. I do know, like I said at the beginning, they're supposed to be doing the TV show. I don't know who they're gonna get to play as the Warrens. The young couple that played them at the beginning of this movie, the little bit that you did see them, they did look very good, and they did do a very good job at pulling off the characters. There's even certain shots, the way that it was lighting, the actor that was playing young Ed really looked like Patrick Wilson, like a young Patrick Wilson. So if they wanted to keep those actors, that would be cool. I'd like to see maybe more of them and what they could do with the TV show, or what they could do in this world with whatever cases they're going to tell, or if they're still doing that. I mean, And yeah, that's another thing about this movie. This movie felt like a very much passing of the torch type movie. It was, you had some of the younger generation, and it wasn't like hitting you over the head with it or anything like that, but it was very subtle how there was certain things that happened throughout the movie where you're like, yeah, okay, this is clearly them passing the torch to somebody else. So there was a lot of that in there, but overall, I mean, I liked it as a Conjuring movie. It's not my favorite. It's definitely better than the third one, but I think if you love these movies and if you love this franchise, I think overall you'll get some really good enjoyment out of it. I just had a lot of mixed things with it that I wasn't 100% sure on. Maybe, like I said, if I watched it again, my mind would change. But as for now, I don't know. I was kind of bummed that this is the last one that we're getting with Via and Patrick. I was kind of, for the characters that we love so much and stuff, I just feel like it's kind of a letdown. At least it was to me. Like I said, it was just super underwhelming. It's still enjoyable, but still very very underwhelming. I just feel like not that the director didn't do a good job. I just feel like the absence of James Wan in these movies. It's like like I said in the beginning, he just brought something really special and unique with how he did certain things and certain shots and how he just decided to direct the movie overall, especially when it came to certain scares and whatnot. And you really feel a lot of that missing in these last two movies. And I remember saying that even when I left the third one, that it's just you feel his absence. So I know he stayed on and wrote the story for this, as well as a producer. I just don't know why he didn't come back to direct the last two. I know that he was directing other things and he wants to do other things, and I know he's producing a shitload of movies, so that's probably why. But anyway, that's my review for The Conjuring. If you like The Conjuring universe, I would say go check it out because it's people are gonna go watch this movie. This franchise has become so popular that whether anybody looks at this review or not, people are gonna go see it anyway, and that's fine. I want people to go see it and form their own opinion of it. People that love this movie, that's great. I'm happy for you. I'm so happy that you enjoy the experience. And yeah, I would say regardless, go check it out. Go form your own opinion. Like I said, if you love the franchise, you might really walk out liking this one. So, with all that being said, if this is the first review you're finding me on, please come on over to the channel and check out all my other 2025 reviews. I have a lot of them piled up now since I started at the beginning of the year, so that would be great. I'll put a playlist up here or one of these sides. I'll put a playlist up here for my other 2025 reviews. And as always, please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. That way I can see all of you in the next one. Thank you so much.